What's up, everybody? I almost forgot my microphone. That would not have been ideal. And I got the right mic on. One of these I had no lights on. One of these I had my tuba mic on accidentally. There's just enough moving parts, and I was born just long enough ago that there's a lot that can go wrong. What's up, everybody? Thank you for checking out this TEM coaching chat. I released TEM 251 today. First of all, plug if you didn't happen to check out TEM 250, which featured a conversation with Eric Branner of Fonz, you need to check it out. Incredible. He's one of those humans where you talk to him and you feel charged afterwards. He's great. So highly recommend. And the bonus episode that I did with him also, I asked him the question of what would he, if he could go back 20 years, what advice would he give to himself? I've asked that question. I've heard that question asked of a lot of people. I've never heard a better answer than the one that he gave me. It was like absolutely money. So yeah, really good stuff. Anyway, I wanted to read you a passage which I also read in TEM 251 from today, from this incredible book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's called the Goldilocks Rule. And this totally applies to playing, to practicing. It applies to every aspect of a career. It's really powerful stuff. Here it is. The human brain loves a challenge, but only if it is within an optimal zone of difficulty. If you love tennis and try to play a serious match against a 4-year-old, you will quickly become bored. If it's too easy. You'll win every point. In contrast, if you play a professional tennis player like Roger Federer or Serena Williams, you will quickly lose motivation because the match is too difficult. Now consider playing tennis against someone who is your equal. As the game progresses, you win a few points and you lose a few. You have a good chance of winning, but only if you really try. Your focus narrows, distractions fade away, and you find yourself fully invested in the task at hand. This is a challenge of just manageable difficulty, and it is a prime example of the Goldilocks rule. The Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy, just right. I have been talking for years about in the practice room about how you have to like surf between boredom and frustration. How like there's like this little wedge that if you can hang out there, that's where all progress comes from, and that's what this Goldilocks rule is. Where also, by the way, this made me imagine what it would be like to just stand still and have like Serena Williams like serve like not even hard, just like a average speed, like just have a tennis ball go by me. I'd be terrified. But anyway, she might be the greatest American athlete to ever live. But and Federer's unbelievable too. He's Swiss, right? We can't claim him. But anyway, now I'm thinking about tennis, and The Inner Game of Tennis, by the way, is a really good book. So it's all about finding things that I can fail and I can succeed. If I were to, there's even some tuba literature that is like way too hard for me to just like play down, right? And I have to like break it down. I have to pull it apart. I have to approach it in a systematic manner, or else I'm going to fail. The same thing goes for any skill that I need to succeed in a portfolio career. And the skills, I talked about this kind of at length in TEM 251 that was released today, but it feels like the skills that are needed to succeed in a career, they it feels like there's more skills being added all the damn time. And then even once you get one of those skills, it changes so fast. If you were an expert at editing video 5 years ago, not that you're not any good at it now, but so much has changed. And some things are, there's like things you can do now easily that were close to impossible before, and some things that you can't do anymore because it's done a completely different way. And the point is, it can feel like the ground is moving underneath you pretty much nonstop. But if I try to bite off more than I can chew, coding is something that I decided a few months ago that I wanted to learn how to code. And I did it for like a couple of weeks, and I then realized Not that this was like shocking to me. It wasn't some great revelation, but I realized that the amount of time I was going to have to spend in prolonged effort, like showing up day after day after day, doing that was for me at this moment better spent focused on other things. And do I want to learn how to code? Yes. Would it be good for me specifically in terms of my career? Yes. And would it be possible for me to learn it? Absolutely, it would be. I know some people who've learned to code who aren't that bright. I'm just kidding. But no, it would absolutely be possible. And I've talked to people, and I think that my brain kind of works that way. It's kind of like arranging, which ironically I haven't done any of that either. But it's like if you have something to say, and then you just learn, you harness this language, and the only way to get good at coding is to code a lot. It's like the way to get good at arranging is to arrange a lot. Way to compose, etc. The way to be able to play tennis like Serena Williams. Although actually one person, one woman in history has been able to do that, which is her. But you understand what I'm saying, right? You start to do it. And I figured out that it was actually a lot easier. It was going to be better, rather, for me to spend that time on some other things. So yeah, so that's kind of that really resonated with me. This book is just amazing, but the Goldilocks, to finding like things that are just out of your reach. He talks in Atomic Habits about how like that the ideal percentage is 4%, and he cites like a study, and he readily admits you can't quantify studies like this, your outputs like this, but it still, I think, is interesting that any task that's like 4% out of your ability range is the perfect number, because in your ability range and you're not progressing. In 1% not progressing, 10% you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to, because you're just going to feel like you're not making progress. And so I have been trying to think of how I can break some things down. And I talked in the episode about how I've been learning a little bit of video editing. But it turns out that like Final Cut Pro is like Photoshop. It's like Logic Pro for audio. And there's a whole bunch of these are like really, really powerful programs. Of course they're complicated. So they're supposed to be complicated. It would be weird if Photoshop was super easy to use. It's the most powerful photo editing tool that we've ever known. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve there, because the impetus is power. The whole reason it exists is for power users. It's not for people who are just looking to make a photograph into like a photo into a square to crop a photo is what that's called. I actually do know that, but I was stumbling on my words. And can you crop a photo in Photoshop? Of course you can. But like you can also now go to a free website and upload and you're done, right? That's not a powerful tool though. You can't do 0.0001% of what Photoshop can do. So of course these powerful tools are going to be complicated. So I've started using things like the Descript app and some other things. And I even started editing a little bit of video in Logic Pro, which I didn't know because I made a couple of tuba videos and used the tuba mic that I was joking about before. Point is that you got to start somewhere. And I'm really good at this point in my life and in my career at breaking things down to manageable chunks, except for when I'm not. And then occasionally I get self-righteous and say the should word, like never say should, like this should be going better, or I should be able to do that, or should. When my son says it, I try to lovingly tell him to pump the brakes. When any TEM coaching client says should, I try to lovingly tell them to pump the brakes. And I try to tell myself to pump the brakes as well. Speaking personally, it's a lot harder when this guy says it to catch it than when one of you, who is a student client, or just someone I'm observing. But the word should, I always have to, I rather than saying should, which means I'm denying reality, I have to say, does this task right now meet the Goldilocks rule? Is it in the Goldilocks zone where it's just out of reach, but it's also not too easy? And cannot recommend James Clear's Atomic Habits anymore. You can check out all of TEM 251, anywhere that you get podcasts. Thank you, everybody's left a rating and a review. I got a really good interview. It's probably going to be next week, 252. The connection we had was not good, so there's a little bit of surgery that has to happen, but it's going to be fine. It's Monica Ellis of Amani Wins, who is just a phenomenal human. And and her interview was, she was on the road with the Money Wins down in Clemson, South Carolina. And so, yeah, it's really good. That's probably next week. If not, it'll be the week after that. And thank you so much for supporting TEM and for checking this out. And that's going to do it for this TEM coaching chat.